The Pittsburgh Steelers just signed an absolute monster of a tight end of Donald Parham Jr., standing at 6'8", 237 pounds. And here is his highlights.
I'm watching this play. It's 3rd and 1. Third quarter, 10-10 game. Eagles got an 8-man box up there on 3rd and 1. Bear defense. They're loaded. The tight end on the play is Donald Parham Jr. All right? Now, the play is power O to the left. Right guard, Schofield, they're all pulling. Here it is. All right? Angle blocking down. All right? There's the play. Except there's a tag if Justin Herbert feels like he can get the ball on the outside to Parham against whoever's covering. In this case, it's Darius Slay. He throws him aside. When you watch this play, like, there it is. There's the power O. But this is what Justin Herbert's looking at. He's like, wait a second. There's no way Slay can cover this flat route. You get him in space, just space. That's all it is. Just one-on-one football. What can Parham do at 6'8", nasty stiff arm, throw him aside, put the ball across the goal line? Clever. I love this play design by Kellen Moore. In the backfield is Keenan Allen. It's 2nd and 10 at the 11-yard line. So he comes in motion right here into the slot. All right, now, how is Chicago going to adjust to the Chargers' leading receiver? At the bottom is Donald Parham Jr. All right, so on the play, Chicago brackets Keenan Allen. So as soon as Justin Herbert sees that, he throws to the open man, which is Donald Parham. You let the defense dictate to you where you throw the ball. That's Donald Parham Jr.'s 13th catch. It's his 4th touchdown, becoming a real red zone threat for this Chargers offense.
So, the Pittsburgh Steelers just signed an absolute monster at the tight end position, Donald Parham Jr. He stands at 6'8" and weighs 237 pounds, and he's only 27 years old. So, Donald Parham Jr. is now part of the Pittsburgh Steelers after signing a 1-year contract. But first, before I get more into Parham, make sure you go follow Brian Baldwinger. Baldy NFL is his handle on X. He did this breakdown of these highlights, so he does a great job breaking down NFL games, players, film, everything like that. Go ahead and check him out. He's also a former player, so he knows what he's talking about. Also, make sure you subscribe to this channel and turn notifications for everything Pittsburgh Steelers updates this offseason. Now, let's get right back into Parham. The Steelers signed him as a veteran addition, and looking at Parham, he spent the 2024 season on the Denver Broncos practice squad, but didn't see any action. Parham spent 4 seasons with the Los Angeles Chargers from 2020 to 2023, and he appeared in 47 regular season games, starting 23 of them. For his career, he has 67 receptions for 764 yards. That's an average of 11.4 yards per catch. And he also has 11 touchdowns. So that's a great margin and a great average for both those statistics. He also appeared in 1 postseason game for the Chargers, and he finished the game with 4 receptions for 23 yards. So, looking at Donald Parham Jr., in 2021, he started 9 games for the Chargers, and he finished with 20 receptions for 190 yards and 3 touchdowns. But then, in 2023, his best season of his career, he had a career-high 27 receptions for 285 yards and a team and a career-high 4 touchdowns on the season. So, Parham Jr., he, in the NFL, didn't last too long because he did suffer a really serious injury against the Chiefs where he had to be carted off the field, and basically ever since that, he hasn't really been given a true opportunity to get back to playing football at a high level. So after that, he played for the Dallas Renegades of the XFL, and before joining the Chargers, he appeared in 5 games for the Dallas Renegades. He was the XFL's top tight end. He pulled in 24 receptions for 307 yards and the 3rd most yards amongst XFL players with 4 touchdowns. So, looking at his college days and his background there, he played college football at Stetson University, where he was first-team All-American in his senior year, when he caught 85 passes for 1,319 yards and 13 touchdowns, leading the FBS and FCS in all three categories for tight ends on the season. He was absolute dominant. So, enough with your introduction to Parham Jr. and Parham Jr.'s introduction to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let's look at him as a football player. What can he bring to this team, and what would be his role moving forward? So, he was on the Denver Broncos practice squad basically in the entire season, so he hasn't had much NFL game experience the last few years since his tenure with the Los Angeles Chargers. But when he was with the Chargers, he was a big-time mismatch. Like I said, standing at 6'8", 237 pounds. That's a big size difference than facing all these 6 feet cornerbacks or 6 feet kind of inside linebackers. So whenever he's on the field, he's going to be a mismatch. And he was a mismatch when he was on the Chargers because he led the team in touchdowns in a year, and he was also a big red zone target. So down in the red zone would be where he's going to be most useful. And he can be used in the blocking aspect as well because he is a big guy. So he's going to be a mismatch. It's just all of a matter of fact if he ends up seeing the field or not. Because the Pittsburgh Steelers really do have a stacked and tight end group, and he may not see the field as much. Because when you look at Pat Freiermuth, he's going to get his time. When you look at Darnell Washington, he's a 6'8" mismatch as well. So he's going to get his time on the field as well. And then the Steelers had McCole Pruitt in there because of Arthur Smith. He really liked him. And the Steelers also had Connor Heyward in at tight end as well. So there's a lot of tight ends. So it's just going to be a matter of fact if Parham Jr. can get on the field. But if he can get on the field and make this team, he can be used in a different variety of ways, especially in the blocking aspect, but also down in the red zone. He may not be the guy who's going to catch it short and run it long, but if you throw him some back shoulder fades, if you throw him the ball out in space, he could kind of run over people and get to where he needs to go and gain yardage up the field. So Parham Jr., he did a great job when he was on the Chargers, and the Chargers and Kellen Moore, Justin Herbert were finding all the mismatches for him, getting the ball in space, getting the ball on the mismatch, and he was making plays for him. Ever since he got injured, he really just has not got the opportunity to be the same player. That's kind of why that he hasn't been playing the last few years. But now, hopefully on the Steelers, they sign him and they see his value to the team. They see his value that he could bring. And the reason why this addition came right now and not during the free agency period, because he was on the practice squad. He wasn't on another person's roster, another team's roster. So they didn't have to wait until free agency in terms of him becoming a free agent, because he basically was a free agent because he was on the practice squad. So that's why this addition came right now. The Steelers are making moves, and this addition of Parham Jr. could only benefit the team. It's not going to hurt the team. Adding in a big guy like this, a mismatch like this, someone who's had success in the past, can only benefit this team. If it ends up working out, great. They made a great addition. If it doesn't working out, then they didn't take a too big of a risk. It's only a 1-year contract, probably for the vet minimum. So it's not that big of a risk, but it's a great addition if it ends up panning out. In which it should. It all just matter of fact if he ends up seeing the field, or if he is able to beat out these other guys at the stacked tight end position, or not even the stacked tight end position, just a room filled with guys that already been there for a minute now and who the coaching staff likes. Donald Parham Jr. is a guy who's had a chip on his shoulder ever since he went undrafted out of the 2019 draft, I believe. So he's always had to work his way into whatever role he had, playing with a chip on his shoulder. He beat out other guys in the past to join the Chargers and get his role on the team with them. He wasn't drafted. That means he had to earn his way into playing time. He just earned his way onto the field through training camp, preseason, things of that nature. So he's done it before, and he's going to have to do it again with the Steelers. Earn his way and fight his way onto this main roster in terms of getting actual playing time and making this team. But he's always had a chip on his shoulder after going undrafted, and now he's going to have the same chip on his shoulder to get back on the field and show what he's still capable of, being a 6'8", 237-pound mismatch. And him standing at that tall and at that weight already gives him an advantage, because the coaching staff isn't going to be paying close attention to him, because when there's that big of a mismatch in size, you want to see that guy succeed, and you want to see the mismatch win. And that can really help this team. So he has an advantage in that opportunity in that way moving forward. Now he just has to work for it and earn it. Anyway, This is the breakdown of Donald Parham Jr. joining the Pittsburgh Steelers through the highlights and analysis, but also just a breakdown of his career and introduction to you. And with that being said, that's the end of this video. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below about this addition. Do you like it? Do you not like it? And do you think he can have an impact on this team? And how do you see him fitting in? Do you see him making this roster when it comes to next season? Also, make sure you subscribe to this channel, like I said, for everything Pittsburgh Steelers news, updates, highlights, analysis reports, everything surrounding the Pittsburgh Steelers. Just because the season's over doesn't mean that the offseason is not as interesting. I'm covering everything in the offseason, whether that's free agency coming up really soon or the draft. So make sure you stay tuned, turn on notifications for this channel, like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, I'll see you guys all later. I'm out. Peace.